Good morning, grade 4 students. This is your scientific class with Miss Shara. Today, we're going to begin our bridging program. This was discussed with you when you were in grade 3, but we're going to recall and review all the things that you have learned last term 3. So let's go and explore more about the moon. If Earth is moving around the Sun, what heavenly body do you think is moving around Earth? That's right, it is the Moon. The Moon is the nearest neighbor in space, much closer to us than the Sun. It is 239 miles away, while the Sun is 93 million miles away from the Earth. So the Earth is much bigger than the Moon. The moon is a small body moving around a larger body. It is the Earth's natural satellite. So we have our own satellite. It's called the moon. The moon is not like the sun or the other stars. It does not give off its own light. So where do you think the light comes from? It comes from the sun. It only reflects the light of the sun. So that means that the sun's lights bounces off it. A planet orbits a sun. So the moon orbits a planet. The moon takes 28 days to go completely around the earth. So look, it goes around the earth for how many days? 28 days. The moon is not smooth on its surface. You can see those black spots. What do you think those are? Right. Those are called craters. The big holes that you can see on top of the moon is called craters. The moon has no air. It does not have water. So there is no life in the moon. But people have visited the moon. So, do you know this person? This is Neil Armstrong, an American astronaut. He was the first person to step on the moon. All right, we recall some of the information about the moon. Now, there's this essential question. How do the movements of the sun, earth, and moon affect the patterns observed by humans on earth? Our learning target for today is let's read. I can describe the phases of the moon. All right, let's begin. Now, these words are the words that you can see along our lesson. So, get your pen and your notebook and you can jot down the definition of these words. The moon. The moon looks different at different times. Does it change its shapes? No, the moon stays the same. What changes is how we see it from the earth, but we don't always see all of that side. Sometimes we only see part of it. That is because of the way it moves around the earth. Remember that the moon only reflects the light of the sun. So when the sun is behind the moon, we can see it at all. And this is what we call new moon. The night is very dark when the sun is facing the moon. We see the face of the moon lit up. This is called a full moon. So when you see the moon looks very bright, that is a full moon. But what happens between the new moon and the full moon? That is what we are going to talk about today. This is where the 8 phases of the moon comes in. So why does the moon have phases? We call this as revolution. The revolution of the moon around the earth makes the moon look as if it is changing shape in the sky. So what are these phases of the moon? We see only parts of the moon. First, we see just a little slice. Only a little of the sun's light is hitting the moon. It seems to get bigger each night. Then we can see half of the moon lit up. Each night we see more and more of it. Then finally, we see the full moon. After that, it seems to get smaller again. We see less and less of it. Then we cannot see it at all. And from the earth, it looks like the sun is not lining up the moon. This is called the new moon. Then the cycle starts all over again. These are called the phases of the moon. What happens between a new moon and a full moon is called the phases of the moon. Okay, big words. Waxing or waning. Waxing means the moon is growing. If the moon is getting bright from the right, it is called waxing. Waning means the moon is shrinking. If the moon is getting dark on the right, that means it is called waning. Okay, now let's talk more about the phases of the moon. What is the first phase of the moon? Number one, the new moon. The moon is not visible from Earth. The moon is between the sun and the earth. The dark side is facing us. This phase lasts one night. The second one is waxing crescent. Waxing means that the bright side is increasing. The right side is the bright side. Less than one half of the moon is illuminated. What do you mean by illuminated? That means it is receiving or it's reflecting light from the sun. It is the bright side. This space includes any visible moon from a small sliver to almost half. The third one is the first quarter or half moon. The entire right side of the moon is illuminated. The moon looks like a half circle. This illuminated side is increasing. This phase only lasts one night. The fourth one is waxing gibbous. So what do you mean by gibbous? Gibbous means that more than one half is visible, but it is not quite full. This phase includes the night after the first quarter to the night before the full moon, so it lasts longer. Next is the full moon. The moon is full and bright. It looks like a large circle. This is where we used to play outside at night, no? Because we can see a lot of things. It's a children or our parents allowed us to play under the brightness of the full moon. The illuminated side is facing us. It only happens one night per lunar phase cycle. When we say lunar phase, that means this is the 28 days cycle. Next, number 6 is the waning gibbous. This one, the moon appears more than half but not quite full. Waning means that the illuminated side is decreasing. So from the full moon, yan, this one is decreasing. The left side is the bright side. Next is the last quarter or half moon. Okay, so this time, the left half of the moon is illuminated. The illuminated side is decreasing. This phase only lasts for one night. The last one is the waning crescent. Less than one half of the moon is illuminated. The moon will continue to become smaller and smaller. So these are the 8 phases of the moon. So the next time you're outside at night, look at the moon. Watch how it changed from one night to the next and observe each phase of the moon. Wait, there's more. The gravitational pull of the moon, though less than that of the Earth, is strong enough to cause water in the oceans to shift slightly toward the moon as it passes overhead. This is seen as a rise or fall along the ocean shores that we call tide. So there is the effect of the gravitational pull of the moon in the oceans. This is what we call high tide and low tide. So have you experienced going to the ocean with a low tide and a high tide? What do you mean by this? High tide and low tide. So what is high tide and low tide? High, high and low tide is a result of the gravitational pull between the sun and the moon. When the earth rotates, the sun and the moon pulls it. However, one of the force is usually stronger than the other. So the sun and the moon is pulling, no? Hence, we will experience high and low tide. So when it's high tide, the water reach at its peak or high peak. This one is low tide. The water is at its low peak. Right, for the wrap up, let's summarize what we have learned today. First, the moon is like a planet. It does not make its own light. It reflects sunlight. The moon orbits the earth. We cannot see all of the moon all at the same time. We see different parts of it depending on where it is. Okay. Oh, wow, that ends our session for today. Awesome effort, everyone. Much love from Miss Shara. So, again, from our scientific class with Miss Shara, goodbye and see you again next time. I love you all.